While Yi Xian was outside with Lang Shu, Yi Ling was inside her room, calling for her brother. She gasped for air, and in her distress, the heavenly fire-warm jade that she was holding suddenly cracked. Meanwhile, the city lord and his son arrived at their house and were informed by their panicking maid about the situation in Yi Ling's room, which had turned into an ice cave. Perplexed by the news, the city lord questioned the maid for more details. They proceeded to Yi Ling's room and were met with a blast of cold air. Shivering from the cold, the chubby kid asked his father about the situation. Lord Lu, while channeling his chi towards Yi Ling, explains that it is an icy cold air and emphasizes the need for his technique to act swiftly, as there is a risk of it being overwhelmed by the cold air and potentially resulting in dire consequences. Inside her inner world, a peculiar bird that looks like a Pokemon appears to reside. As it opens its eyes, the bird-like creature detects a fiery energy approaching. Effortlessly, the bird disperses the energy, nullifying its impact. Returning to the physical world, Lord Lu hastily withdraws his hand, wounded by the extreme cold. Concerned, his son notices the injury and inquires about his father's well-being. Lord Lu assures him it is a minor injury, but laments his failure to reach Yi Ling's spiritual avatar, explaining the overwhelming strength of the frigid air surrounding her. Recognizing the urgency of the situation, Lord Lu commands one of his maids to locate Yi Xian and inform him about the circumstances. Simultaneously, he instructs his son to retrieve hot water and blankets to maintain her body temperature and provide warmth. Meanwhile, in the streets of the capital, Yi Xian finds himself being scolded by his master for neglecting his search for the Tao while seemingly finding time to socialize. Yi Xian, taken aback, expresses his surprise that the master is still awake at such a late hour. Thinking that it was him being addressed, the old man who was secretly following Yi Xian suddenly interrupted, expressing astonishment and disbelief that Yi Xian was able to locate him. In doing so, the old man reveals his realization on why his lady was so impressed by Yi Xian, emphasizing his extraordinary nature and capabilities. Confused by the blabbering old man, Yi Xian was about to tell him something. However, the old man then warns Yi Xian not to get any funny ideas about his lady. As he levitates to the air, the old man further adds that there is no use in hating him as he reminds Yi Xian that his lady is out of his league. As the old man departs, Yi Xian scoffs at him, labeling him a psycho for spouting nonsensical statements out of nowhere. His master, wearing a stern expression, accuses Yi Xian of meddling with the lady in question. Defending himself, Yi Xian asserts his innocence and points out that his master knows every detail of his life, even when he is taking a bath. In response, his master angrily shouts at him, rebuking him for insinuating that she peeks at him while taking a bath. Yi Xian attempts to calm her by clarifying that he didn't accuse her of peeking. However, unconvinced, his master chases after him, wielding a sword and threatening to kill him. In a frantic bid to escape, Yi Xian repeatedly apologizes while reminding her that she is his master. As he flees, he accidentally collides with the maid who was tasked with finding him. Realizing the urgency, the maid finally reveals information about Yi Xian's sister. Upon hearing this, Yi Xian immediately rushes toward his sister's location. Upon witnessing the scene, Yi Xian's master comments on his unwavering concern for his sister, noting his restlessness. As she gazes at the star-filled sky, memories from the distant past flood her mind, reminding her of a similar situation that occurred millions of years ago. Upon arriving at his sister's location, Yi Xian is met by the anxious chubby kid who informs him about the situation. Concerned for his sister, people rush towards Yi Ling's room, carrying blankets and warm water. Taking in his sister's condition, Yi Xian turns to his master and desperately asks if there is any way to save her. In response, his master mentions that the heavenly flame jade has been shattered and instructs Yi Xian to retrieve it so she can attempt to repair it. Holding his sister's hand, Yi Xian makes a heartfelt promise that he will enter the academy to find a skilled doctor who can cure her. After the busy night, the group finally arrives at the gates of the academy. As Yi Xian gazes at the grand entrance, he exclaims at the immense size of the academy, which spans the entire mountain. In response to his observation, Lord Lu explains that in the capital, Kongmu Academy and Drunken Immortal Pavilion are the largest factions, having existed for numerous dynasties. Curious about the reach of Kongmu Academy, Yi Xian wonders if there are other branches of the academy in Jiang. Lord Lu responds by clarifying that the academy they see before them is just a branch, and the main academy is located in Shenzhou, a distant place in China. Lord Lu further expresses his confidence that Yi Xian can reach Shenzhou if he wanted to. However, Yi Xian humbly replies that Shenzhou is too far away, and his only aspiration is to gain admission into the academy. As the chubby kid listened to their conversation, he boldly declared that he too would be able to enter the main academy. Irritated by his son's arrogant remark, the city lord informed him that he was the one who had the most trouble finding a place at the academy. In response, the chubby kid pointed out that his brother was watching and therefore his father should allow him to show off. Yi Ling reassured the chubby kid that they would take him to the main academy later. Playfully, the chubby kid replied that she was indeed clever. While they were engrossed in their conversation, the gates began to open, signaling the start of the admission process. At the top of the stairs stood an old man who introduced himself as Kang Zhong, the outer principal of the academy. He proceeded to explain the rules, stressing that there were only 20 slots available for this enrollment. The examination would consist of 3 levels, and if the number of participants exceeded 20, they would be required to engage in combat to secure their position. As Kang Zhong's words echoed throughout the square, the thousands of hopeful individuals in attendance were reminded that only a select few would have the opportunity to be accepted. Continuing his instructions, Kang Zhong declared that for the first level, anyone unable to climb the 9 flights of steps up the mountain would be immediately disqualified and asked to leave. In response to the seemingly easy exam, Yi Xian questioned Lord Lu if the difficulty of the examination at MANHUA Academy has always been this easy. However, contrary to his expectations, Lord Lu explained that the challenge is not easy at all. He explains that Mount Kangmu was surrounded by a formation, with escalating pressure with each step on the stairs. Even ordinary practitioners in the imperial realms might struggle to pass. Concerned for his brother, Yi Ling asked Yi Xian if everything was all right, sensing the potential challenges that lay ahead. Yi Xian, wanting to alleviate his sister's worries, leaned in and whispered to her that his intention was to rely on his own abilities to be admitted to the academy. However, he reassured her that if all else failed, he would use the jade pendant that Lang Shu had given him. This would ensure his acceptance into the academy, therefore he was confident that he wouldn't encounter any difficulties in getting admitted. Lord Lu, realizing that the gates had already opened, urged Yi Xian to hurry to the designated place and prepare for the examination. However, before they could proceed, the chubby kid runs in the opposite direction while making some bullshit excuse that he needs to go to the bathroom. Frustrated by the kid's behavior, Lord Lu angrily calls him hopeless. Upon entering the gate, the examiners were greeted by a row of swords arranged in a formation. The master expressed her surprise at encountering such a malicious formation within Kangmu Academy. Intrigued, Yi Xian questioned if it was truly a sword formation. The master confirmed and explained that the formation lacked both defensive and offensive power, but it was considered nasty. Curious, Yi Xian asked why it was deemed nasty. The master replied that the purpose of the sword formation was to seal the remnants of the sword owner's past into the blades. She further explained that it was usually used to humiliate opponents, but she never expected to encounter it at this location. Yi Xian comments on the academy for not being afraid of ghosts with such a formation. The master jokingly responds that the ghosts would take a detour upon seeing this formation. Kang Zhong, the outer principal, instructed all the participants to climb the stairs, explaining that reaching him would be considered passing the test. Excited by the prospect, the participants hurried towards the stairs, eager to prove themselves. Meanwhile, Yi Xian entrusted his sister to Lord Lu's care temporarily. Yi Ling wished him luck, and Yi Xian made his way towards the competition area. Unbeknownst to Yi Xian, Yi Ling's cold symptoms had started to resurface again. Concerned for her well-being, Lord Lu suggested that she wait for news instead of exerting herself further. Despite her illness, Yi Ling reassured Lord Lu not to worry, assuring him that she had the warm jade with her. She insisted on witnessing her brother's journey to join the prestigious Kangmu Academy. She explains that Yi Xian had endured countless hardships for her sake, and had faced more challenges than she had. With her supporting him, she wanted to see her brother enter the Kangmu Academy so that she will be able to leave with a peace of mind. After an exhausting climb, Yi Xian finally reached the end of the stairs. Kang Zhong addressed the remaining examinees, stating that 42 people had successfully passed the first test this year, slightly more than the previous year. Unexpectedly, Kang Zhong singled out someone and ordered them to leave. Yi Xian stared in disbelief as Kang Zhong confirmed that he was indeed addressing Yi Xian himself. Perplexed by the situation, Yi Xian questioned why the elder was ordering him to leave. Kang Zhong explained that this year, MANHUA Academy would only accept students with a cultivation level of at least the lowest level of the Imperial Realm. As a 6th grade Qi realm, Yi Xian did not meet the qualification. In response, Yi Xian pointed out that there was no realm requirement when he signed up and emphasized that he had already passed the first test. The elder coldly replied that even if Yi Xian had passed the first test, it wouldn't matter as he could still be expelled if ordered to do so. He further added that according to the rules, disobedience towards an elder would result in a punishment with 100 poison sticks and immediate expulsion from the mountain. Realizing that he was being targeted, Yi Xian contemplated the possible reasons behind it. Suddenly, a thought struck him as he noticed the shared family name of Kang Zhong and Kang Qi. Curiosity driving him, he approached the elder and inquired about his knowledge of Kang Qi. The elder revealed that Kang Qi was his grandson. Angered, the elder questions his motive for asking. Yi Xian, not backing down, accused the elder of abusing his power for personal gain. Before the situation could escalate further, another individual intervened, expressing disapproval of Yi Xian's words and suggesting that the elder punish him for a fair evaluation. The intervening student seized the opportunity to make a name for themselves in front of the elder, mockingly staring at Yi Xian. Kang Zhong concurred with the student's statement, claiming that they were merely following the rules. Yi Xian let out a sigh, seemingly disappointed by their decision to insist on expelling him. However, Yi Xian had a surprise in store. Activating his trap card, he revealed his jade pendant to the others, boldly proclaiming that he no longer needed to pretend as he possessed a means to enter through the back door. As the other students recognized the jade as belonging to the national warrior, one person angrily claimed it was fake. Refusing to tolerate the accusation, Yi Xian swiftly and effortlessly sent the idiot flying into the air with a powerful punch, dismissing his words as nonsense. The onlookers deemed Yi Xian ruthless for his actions. Witnessing the altercation, Kang Zhong, the honorary teacher of the MANHUA Academy, saw an opportunity to justify himself. He accused Yi Xian of physically assaulting someone, using it as a means to prevent him from joining the academy. Fueled by his own confidence, Kang Zhong declared that regardless of the presence of the national warrior, Yi Xian would never be allowed to enter the academy. Veins visibly pulsating on his forehead, Kang Zhong commanded for Yi Xian to be apprehended and executed. In response to his orders, 2 subordinates rushed towards Yi Xian, ready to carry out their teacher's command. Witnessing this, Yi Ling's worry intensified, while Lord Lu, though nervous himself, assured Yi Ling that his brother would be all right. Lord Lu couldn't help but think to himself that the MANHUA Academy was foolish for not recognizing the genius that Yi Xian possessed. Smiling at the scene of the daring fools rushing towards him, Yi Xian swiftly and effortlessly sent the rushing fools flying past Kang Zhong with a powerful kick as if to mock him. Seeing this, Kang Zhong couldn't deny the prodigious talent before him. Yi Xian had defeated 2 cultivators in the Sky Realm while still at the Qi Transformation Realm, showcasing his exceptional abilities. Realizing the potential that Yi Xian held, Kang Zhong's determination to prevent him from entering the academy only grew stronger. With a smirk on his face, Kang Zhong launched an attack at Yi Xian, causing him to stagger backward. Gathering his strength, Yi Xian stood his ground, grateful for his physical resilience that allowed him to withstand the strike from a cultivator of the Sky Realm. Impressed, Kang Zhong commended him for enduring the blow but made it clear that it wasn't enough. In response to Kang Zhong's provocation, Yi Xian gives him the majestic finger while calling him a bald eagle. Sensing an opportunity, Yi Xian swiftly dashed towards a nearby building, evading Kang Zhong's pursuit. As Baldy watched him in frustration, a sly smile appeared on his face. He explained that Yi Xian had unknowingly entered the Forbidden 9 Palace formation without the required key, and therefore trespassed it. He further emphasized that even if he himself were to enter the formation, he would be instantly overwhelmed, let alone a person of Yi Xian's Qi Transformation realm. Hearing this, Yi Ling turned to Lord Lu and inquired about the 9 Palace formation. Lord Lu explained that the formation was believed to have been created by the ancestor of MANHUA Academy. He revealed that if anyone under the age of 20 managed to break the formation, the headmaster of the academy was obligated to take them as their own disciple. However, Lord Lu added that it had been 50 years since anyone had successfully passed the formation. Feeling a mix of nervousness and concern, Yiling anxiously asked Lord Lu about the fate of those who failed the test. Lord Lu's response is grim, as he explains that all those who have failed the test have mysteriously disappeared, with their bodies never to be found. After being sent flying earlier, the student proposed bringing Yiling along to watch the show. Kang Zhong agreed with the suggestion, stating his desire for her to witness her brother's demise, which will leave him without a body. In the depths of the academy, a man engaged in meditation suddenly sensed the presence of someone entering the Nine Palace formation. Inside the formation, Yi Xian found himself questioning his surroundings. Responding to his question is his master, who informed him that he was inside the Nine Palace formation. Reflecting inwardly, Yi Xian wondered if this was the second test and speculated that passing it might draw the attention of the academy's elders and improve his chances of admission. Unexpectedly, the gears on the floor began to spin, accompanied by the sudden manifestation of several sword-bearing statues. Yi Xian uttered a surprised curse upon seeing the rock spirits. Without warning, one of the statues swiftly attacked him, catching him off guard and landing a blow on his chest. Astonishingly, the sword began to crumble upon contact with Yi Xian. As he observed the statue, cracks began to appear, ultimately causing it to explode into countless pieces. Perplexed, Yi Xian questions his master if it was her who caused it. In response, the master berated him, calling him an idiot. She reminds him that he is practicing the invincible sword body, which allows him to devour any sword that is weaker than the heavenly sword within his body. Yi Xian embarrassingly replied that he had been afraid for no reason. Having recovered from his fall, Yi Xian stood up and deliberately provoked the group of statues before him. Outside the formation, the students approached Yiling, attempting to take her away. Lord Lu attempted to intimidate them, but the bruised individual interjected, pretentiously explaining that their intention was simply to have Yiling collect Yi Xian's body. Lord Lu remained skeptical and retorted that they were merely talking nonsense. While struggling for breath, Yiling stepped in, halting Lord Lu and agreeing to go with them. Lord Lu tried to dissuade her, warning that they harbored ill intentions. Yiling reassured him that her brother would be safe. She stated that she would wait outside the Nine Palace formation and welcome Yi Xian back. With a solemn expression, Lord Lu tells her that he would accompany her and personally greet Yi Xian. Upon reaching the end of the stairs, Kang Zhong greeted Yiling rudely, taunting her by proclaiming that her brother would surely fail. Yiling, refusing to accept his words, swiftly called him a liar and expressed her unwavering belief in her brother's success. Kang Zhong dismissed her confidence, labeling her as ignorant and asserting that no one had managed to break through the Nine Palace formation for decades. However, just as Kang Zhong concluded his confident statement, Yi Xian emerged from the formation, surprising both Kang Zhong and the onlookers. Yi Xian, brimming with confidence, couldn't help but mock the Kangmu Academy for their inability to overcome what he considered to be a simple and crumbling formation. In response, Kang Zhong accused Yi Xian of cheating and demanded an explanation for how he managed to surpass the formidable Nine Palace formation. Challenging the accusation, Yi Xian questioned Kang Zhong if he had any concrete evidence to support his claim. The skeptical old man pointed out that Yi Xian's cultivation level was only at the Qi transformation realm, making it seemingly impossible for him to pass the formation. Just as the tension between them was escalating, the deputy dean known as Dean Li Xiu finally arrived, effectively putting an end to their heated exchange. Yi Xian felt relieved that someone capable had arrived to handle the situation. Dean Li Xiu immediately announced that Kang Zhong had abused his authority for personal gain and instructed him to report back to the staff regarding his misconduct, relieving him of any further involvement in the student recruitment process. Acknowledging this turn of events, Baldi responded with an obviously sweet expression. Despite not fully understanding how Yi Xian managed to break the formation, Dean Li Xiu praised him for his achievement, and acknowledged that he possessed a strong foundation despite his cultivation realm. However, Dean Li's praise was short-lived as he suddenly noticed Yi Xian's shattered dantian, the energy center of his cultivation. Reacting to the shocking revelation, Dean Li retracted his previous words, averting his gaze as he suggested that Yi Xian could instead stay at the academy as a martial artist. The suggestion was met with negative comments from some of the examinees, who whispered among themselves, belittling the role of martial artists as mere tea servers. Despite the lowly position, Yi Xian, with a heavy heart, inquired if he could have a doctor attend to his sister if he were to accept the offer. Disagreeing with Yi Xian's suggestion, Yi Ling dissuaded her brother from accepting an inferior job solely for her sake. She tried to convince him that she was already cured, but in the midst of their conversation, Yi Ling suddenly collapsed, causing Yi Xian to become deeply worried about her well-being. In his desperation, Yi Xian made a heartfelt plea to Li Xiu, promising to become a martial arts apprentice and do anything for the Kangmu Academy if it meant saving his sister. However, Li Xiu turned his back to the scene, explaining that the academy only had 3 masters of medicine and it wouldn't be easy to treat the family of a mere martial artist. Yi Ling tried to console her brother, urging him not to be so sad. Nevertheless, Yi Xian couldn't hold back his emotions, hugging his sister tightly as tears streamed down his face, blaming himself for her suffering. Gently touching her brother's face, Yi Ling requested that he not cry. She expressed her desire to pass away in his arms, assuring him that she had been very happy and promising to be his sister again in the next life. Observing this moment, Lord Lu addressed Li Xiu, questioning him if he had no concern for breaking the hearts of the students. Despite being called out, Li Xiu remained apathetic to the situation. Upon hearing Lord Lu's words, Yi Xian rose from his position, determined to dissuade Lord Lu from wasting his time trying to convince the dean. Yi Xian didn't want to force anyone into helping him. He believed that there were other options beyond the Kangmu Academy that could potentially cure his sister. As Yi Xian continues to make his way down the stairs, Kang Zhong persistently follows him, threatening him for hurting his grandson. However, Yi Xian remains undeterred, ignoring Kang Zhong's words and focusing on his goal. As he descends the stairs, a man from out of nowhere suddenly addresses Yi Xian. In an unexpected turn of events, the old man informs him that he has the power to save his sister. This revelation surprises Yi Xian, as he wonders where this man came from. Observing this exchange, Baldi berates the old man, criticizing him for recruiting in front of Kangmu Academy. In response to the old man's offer, Yi Xian firmly expresses his determination to do whatever it takes to save his sister, even if it means marching towards hell. Tidying himself, the old man reassures Yi Xian that he doesn't need him to go to hell. Instead, he proposes that Yi Xian becomes his student at Kanglin Academy. Whispering to Yi Xian, Lord Lu reveals that Kanglin Academy used to be on par with Kangmu Academy, but its glory has diminished over time. Yi Xian thanks Lord Lu for the information, but emphasizes his unwavering commitment to saving his sister. Witnessing Yi Xian's resolute determination, the old man conjures a flame that begins as a small fire but gradually transforms into a magnificent lotus-shaped flame. Observing the scene, Baldi expresses his disbelief that the old man is willing to use such a valuable fire spirit to save a girl he deems useless. Unfazed by Baldi's comments, the old man completes his preparations and directs the fiery lotus towards Yi Ling, who is cradled in Yi Xian's arms. Momentarily distracted by the intense heat, Yi Xian is urged by Lord Lu to look at his sister, who is now floating in the air, enveloped by the blazing lotus. Witnessing the unfolding scene, Yi Xian called out to his sister with deep concern. However, before he could fully express his worry, the old man tapped him on the shoulder, providing reassurance that Yi Ling would be all right. He explained that the fire spirit was actively countering the cold poison within her body. Yi Xian's eyes remained fixed on the old man, astonishment evident as he marveled at the man's incredible abilities. In his thoughts, Yi Xian acknowledged the old man's amazing skills, realizing that he hadn't even noticed how the man approached him. As the flames gradually subsided, Yi Ling opened her eyes, a fiery mark adorning her forehead. Believing that she had already perished, Yi Ling burst into tears upon seeing her brother before her. Embracing Yi Xian tightly, Yi Ling expressed her guilt, blaming herself for his supposed demise and suggesting that they could be together as ghosts. Yi Xian's initial surprise transformed into pure happiness upon hearing his sister's nonsense. His expression radiated joy as he happily informed her that they were both alive and well. Yi Ling, taken aback by his revelation, questioned how she had managed to survive. Yi Xian fondly replied, reminding her that he would never allow anything bad to happen to her. Amidst the emotional scene, the old man interjects, informing them that despite the fire spirit's capability to temporarily suppress the cold poison within Yi Ling's body, he is uncertain about its duration. Regardless, Yi Xian expresses his gratitude to the old man, vowing that he will never forget this act of kindness for the rest of his life. While walking past them, the old man positively responds to his words and instructs Yi Xian to address him as Dean Ji. He tells Yi Xian to prepare himself as they will be returning to the Kanglin Academy. Yi Xian agrees to the instruction. The siblings then approach Lord Lu, bidding their farewells and expressing their heartfelt gratitude. Yi Xian thanked Lord Lu for taking care of him and offered his assistance in the future, should Lord Lu ever need it. In her own way, Yi Ling advised Lord Lu to drink less alcohol and take better care of himself. With a teary-eyed expression, Lord Lu embraced them both, urging them to visit him and Lu Ming, the chubby kid, more often. However, Yi Xian noticed something amiss and tapped Lord Lu's back, pointing out his runny nose. Yi Ling responded with an awkward smile, while Lord Lu brushed off the comment. Observing the heartwarming scene with a mocking smile on his face, Kang Zhong interjects, mocking the Kanglin Academy for using a valuable fire spirit for someone he considers trash. Baldy's laughter echoed through the air, his amusement evident as he found the situation to be nothing short of a joke. However, not tolerating his mockery, Dean Ji turned back to face him, his gaze filled with authority, as he orders him to get lost. In an instant, an invisible force struck Baldy, causing his remaining hair to be blown backward and inflicting damage upon him. As Baldy wiped his mouth, he promised that Kangmu Academy would not let this go unpunished. Climbing up the stairs with a mixture of anger and contempt, Baldy looked back at the group gathered below, sneering at them as he calls them blind losers. Moments later, the siblings stood in disbelief as they realized the true state of Kanglin Academy. Yi Xian couldn't help but voice his doubts to the seemingly unconcerned Dean Ji. He questioned whether this rundown place was truly their academy. Maintaining his relaxed demeanor, Dean Ji disclosed that they had been deceived into joining the academy and suggested they find a room elsewhere since no one was currently present. With that said, he finally settled himself down for a nap, leaving Yi Xian and Yi Ling to navigate the situation on their own. Feeling uncertain, Yi Ling turned to her brother, seeking his guidance for their next action. Yi Xian, fueled by his resolve to make the best of the situation, decided to scout the yard for a relatively clean spot where they could settle. Meanwhile, he instructed Yi Ling to wait for him while he is looking for a place. Yi Ling, holding on to a glimmer of optimism, expressed her intention to clean up Kanglin Hall, which will be their new home in this unexpected turn of events. Inside Kangmu Academy, a massive explosion rocks the surroundings, leaving Kang Zhong in a dire situation with a missing arm as he desperately pleads for mercy from the national warrior. In response, Lang Shu sarcastically praises the supposed prestige of Kangmu Academy for daring to give a hard time to someone she personally recommended. Consumed by anger, she unleashes her spear intent, producing an energy of a chaotic dragon as she threateningly orders Li Xiu to make an appearance. Observing the unfolding scene from a distance, the old man who was following Yi Xian stands with an expression filled with a mix of concern. The students in the vicinity bow deeply with extreme fear, overwhelmed by the intensity of the unfolding situation. As he watches the chaos that his lady is causing, the old man declares that the worst has come, emphasizing the lady's fury and highlighting the gravity of the situation that has unfolded. In response to Lang Shu's call, another representative from the academy greets her as he questions the reason behind the national warrior's anger. However, before receiving an answer, Lang Shu aggressively lunged with her spear while demanding to drop his act. The guy swiftly defended himself with a shield technique, but Lang Shu's force shattered his defense, causing injury to his hand. As a final gesture, Lang Shu cast away a jade pendant, declaring that she no longer has any association with the Kangmu Academy. Meanwhile, at the Kanglin Academy, Yi Xian continued his search for a suitable place to settle. His attention was drawn to a house, and he contemplated entering to investigate. Upon opening the door, his nose started to bleed as he realized that someone was bathing inside. Both individuals exchanged bewildered glances, taken aback by the unexpected encounter. Yi Xian blushed and slowly closed the door, apologizing for the mistake of entering the wrong room. As he processes the situation, Yi Xian sat behind the closed door with a shocked expression on his face as he questions why a woman was present despite the dean's assurance that no one was around. While contemplating, a sword suddenly impaled the door, narrowly missing Yi Xian. He stared at the sword with a mix of surprise and confusion. From behind the door, the woman named Li Anji asked if he saw it. Flustered, Yi Xian implies his ignorance, and replied that he only liked men. The sword was withdrawn from the door, and as Yi Xian attempted to continue his departure, the door suddenly swung open, revealing Anji in a robe and causing him to momentarily lose his balance. Faking his indifference, Yi Xian expressed his annoyance at having his clothes ruined by the bathwater. Reacting to this, Anji wondered if Yi Xian truly likes men. Interrogatively, she asked Yi Xian to identify himself, to which he responded indifferently by introducing himself as Yi Xian, a new student. Continuing his charade, Yi Xian inquired about the unpleasant odor emanating from her. The woman reacted angrily, denying any presence of foul substances around her. She scolded Yi Xian, expressing her disapproval for being judged by a man who likes a man, and demanded that he leave. Yi Xian, wearing a mischievous smile, departed while remarking on the mockery of the situation. In his thoughts, he actually found the scent quite pleasing. Hence the face. Inside the Kungmu Academy, 3 individuals with mysterious backgrounds sat at a single table, engaging in a conversation about the incident involving the national warrior. The old man with a cane remarked that Deputy Dean Li Xiu had provoked the national warrior, and should be punished by facing the wall on the cliff. The man in the yellow garment shared his opinion, dismissing the significance of Yi Xian's genius. He argued that it would be Yi Xian's loss if he failed to join their esteemed Kungmu Academy. Furthermore, he warned against punishing Li Xiu, as it would result in them becoming the laughingstock of the world. The person who was injured agreed with the guy, asserting that they should let the world know that, despite his talents, Yi Xian was still considered a failure in the eyes of the prestigious Kungmu Academy. The man in the yellow garment added a foreboding remark, suggesting that one day, Yi Xian would suffer the same fate as the students of Kanglin Academy, having their souls sealed inside swords in Kungmu Academy, never to be reincarnated. Meanwhile, as Yi Xian returned to the hall, he was greeted by a table adorned with delicious-looking dishes. His mouth watered at the sight, and he couldn't help but compliment the food, asking Yi Ling where she got them. With a shy smile, Yi Ling revealed that she had made the dishes herself when she came across the vegetables while cleaning. Yi Xian praised her with a thumbs up, appreciating her culinary skills. Unexpectedly, Dean Ji joined in, complimenting the food and remarking that it had been a long time since he had enjoyed such a good meal. This caught Yi Xian off guard, and in a comical tone, he called out Dean Ji for eating without them. To add to the surprise, Anji appeared, holding an empty bowl and requesting another serving. Yi Xian looked at her with a puzzled expression, wondering where she had suddenly come from. After they finished their meal, Yi Xian turned to Dean Ji and asked for guidance on what he should study at the academy. Dean Ji responded with a vague answer, explaining that the academy's educational philosophy was about freeing nature from constraint. Curious for a more specific answer, Yi Xian inquired about what that meant. In a dramatic fashion, Dean Ji stood on top of the table, placing one foot on it, and proudly declared, "Self-study!" This surprised Yi Ling and left her speechless. Later on, Yi Xian decided to rest on top of the roof, observing the beautiful moon while reflecting on Lord Lu's remark about Kanglin Academy's decline. In response to this, his master appeared and asked him if he regretted joining the academy. Yi Xian replied to his master, informing her that he had nothing to regret. Shifting the conversation, Yi Xian raises an important point about his skill improvement, highlighting that absorbing swords is the only way for him to improve his skills. Meanwhile, standing at the gate of the Kanglin Academy is Lang Shu, accompanied by the robed elder. The elder questions his lady on why she decided to come to the Kanglin Academy. Lang Shu replies that she should say hello since her little Xian is here. The next morning, Yi Xian was rudely awakened by the dean, who informed him that someone was looking for him at the bottom of the hill. As he walked down the hill, Yi Xian yawned and wondered aloud who would disturb his dreams so early in the morning. Lang Shu, in response to his remark, casually apologized for interrupting his pleasant dream, mentioning that she might have chosen the wrong time to visit. Yi Xian cleverly replied that his dream was indeed enjoyable, but now it had become even better since he could see Xiaoan, addressing her with an affectionate name. Playfully, Lang Shu punched Yi Xian on the chest and asked when he had become so smooth. Intruding to this affectionate interaction was a red-haired man, who found himself captivated by Lang Shu's beauty. Reacting to the presence of this third person, Yi Xian asked him why he was staring. The man boldly replied, questioning Yi Xian about what was wrong with appreciating what he is seeing. Yi Xian inquired if the guy still intended to continue staring, and the guy confidently affirmed his intention. They briefly held each other's hands, as if preparing for something intense. However, their moment was abruptly interrupted by the dean, who commanded them to step aside. Addressing the two, he emphasized the importance of unity and mutual assistance among students of the same academy. Upon hearing this, Yi Xian questioned the dean about the guy's membership in the academy, reminding him of their previous conversation where they had discussed there being only 2 members. Reacting to this, the guy sought clarification and asked if there were truly only 2 members in the academy. The dean, who suddenly appeared behind the guy, wisely informed him that there were actually 3 members, including himself. The guy reminded the dean of their previous conversation, where the dean had claimed that Kangmu and Kanglin were the same. The dean cleverly pointed out that he hadn't lied, as both academies were located in the capital and shared the title of being an academy. Therefore, they were essentially the same. Reacting to this, the guy turns his back to the old man and informs him that he is going to the Kangmu Academy. In response, the old man questions whether he no longer desires the second scroll of the Transcendental Pole. Upon hearing this, the guy immediately returns to the dean while contemplating the offer. Eventually, he succumbs to temptation and takes the bait. Shifting the topic, the guy inquires if the dean knows about the national warrior. With an intimidating gaze, Yi Xian interrogates him, asking what he wants from the national warrior. With a confident smile, the guy strikes a pose and boldly introduces himself as Mu Yun, declaring his intent to defeat the national warrior and bring her to tears. Yi Xian and the dean are momentarily stunned by his audacious claim but quickly recover, responding with mocking laughter at the guy's bold declaration. Adding to the ridicule, Yi Xian encourages him to keep dreaming. Furthermore, the old man continues laughing as he remarks that in his old age, he has never seen someone as reckless as him. Angered by their mockery, Mu Yun was about to belittle the national warrior. However, his expression suddenly changed as Lang Shu swiftly sent him flying with a single punch that was both powerful and adorable. Continuing her attack, Lang Shu pummeled him in the air, sending him crashing back to the ground. Observing this onslaught, the 2 mofos remained in shock, clinging to each other as they witnessed Lang Shu's wrath. Angered by Mu Yun's remark about beating her into tears, Lang Shu questioned him if he was dreaming. In Mu Yun's defense, Yi Xian hurriedly tried to calm Lang Shu by suggesting that Mu Yun was perhaps just daydreaming. Hearing this, Mu Yun, who was badly beaten, addressed Lang Shu and promised her that he would seek revenge, regardless of who she was. Looking at the foolish Mu Yun, the dean informed him that Lang Shu was in fact the national warrior he had been searching for. After a long silence, Lang Shu scoffed at him and walked away with Yi Xian. The dean told Mu Yun to stop playing dead, reminding him of his earlier claim to defeat Lang Shu and reduce her to tears. Finally alone together, Lang Shu expressed her knowledge of what happened in the Kangmu Academy, but was surprised by Yi Xian's decision to join the Kanglin Academy. Yi Xian acknowledged that Kangmu didn't want him, so it seemed like a waste of her kindness to recommend him there. However, he reassured her that he genuinely liked being at the Kanglin Academy. In response, Lang Shu insulted the Kangmu Academy, criticizing them for being blind. While Yi Xian stared at her with affectionate eyes, Lang Shu moved in front of him and presented him with another jade pendant. She explained that the pendant was a compensation for failing to fulfill her promise of getting him into the Kangmu Academy. Enchanted by her beauty, Yi Xian blurted out that she was very pretty. Reacting to his comment, Lang Shu questioned what he was referring to as pretty. Awakened by her question, Yi Xian quickly clarified that he was actually referring to the pendant itself. Continuing the conversation, Lang Shu informed Yi Xian that the pendant would be used by the country to select candidates who would enter the relic left behind by the Sword Master. Upon learning the significance of the jade pendant, Yi Xian attempted to return it, suggesting that Lang Shu should keep it for herself. However, Lang Shu explained that she practiced spear techniques, rendering the relic useless to her. Additionally, she playfully mentioned that the ruins were said to be located in a volcanic area, hinting that he might find something helpful for Linga there. As Lang Shu observed Yixian closely, she emphasized that they were friends, therefore she would genuinely be upset if he didn't accept the jade pendant. With a blush on his face, Yixian accepted the jade pendant. Lang Shu then commented that with him becoming stronger, she could leave Jiang with a peace of mind. Confirming her departure, Yixian inquired if she was truly leaving the country. Lang Shu confirmed and explained that she had come to meet him specifically to say goodbye. Contrary to her expectations, Yixian responded positively to the news, congratulating her and deducing that her cultivation must have improved once again. Therefore, she was no longer bound by the necessity to stay in Jiang. In response, Lang Shu questioned why there was anything to congratulate when it was her first time making a friend, but now she had to go far away, possibly for a long time. In response, Lang Shu blushed as Yixian leaned closer to her face and asked if she was worried about not seeing each other again. He extended his hand, assuring her to trust him as he promised to catch up to her and even surpass her, momentarily surprising and flustering Lang Shu. In response, Lang Shu took his hand, acknowledging his words but playfully adding that she has a fast pace. Later on, inside the Kanglin Hall, the group gathered around the table with the dean positioned at the center, adopting a serious demeanor. Meanwhile, Yixian happily allowed his sister to feed him, while Mu Yun inquired about the reason behind the dean's summoning. In a serious tone, the dean informed them that the Kanglin Academy was facing a life-or-death situation. In response, Mu Yun promptly stood up from his seat and questioned whether the Kangmu Academy was planning an attack. The dean emphasized the gravity of the situation and scolded Mu Yun angrily for underestimating the capabilities of Kanglin compared to Kangmu Academy. The dean then instructed Yi Ling to announce the news, and she agreed without hesitation. Yi Ling assumed a serious demeanor as she relayed her findings that the academy was running out of food and funds. Hearing this, Mu Yun questioned the dean if it was truly necessary to gather everyone in the hall for such a matter. The dean responded that it was not a trivial issue. If left unsolved, they would starve to death. Yixian inquired about the availability of spiritual weapons or martial arts skills within the academy. He proposed the idea of auctioning one of those items, suggesting that it could provide sustenance for them for years. Anji responded by mentioning the presence of a hall of records at the back of the academy, where many such items could be found. Upon learning about this, Mu Yun's excitement was evident as he expressed that they should have visited the hall earlier. Anji advised him to consult the dean for more information, as the dean possessed better knowledge about the place. With a laugh and an apologetic gesture, the old man informed them that he had traded all those items for alcohol. Frustrated, Mu Yun dramatically grabbed the old man's neck and questioned him about his excessive drinking habits. Observing the situation, Yixian disappointingly placed his hand on his forehead. He emphasized that it was now too late to hold the dean accountable, stressing the urgency of resolving the issue at hand. Turning to Yi Ling, Yixian asked for her ideas. Yi Ling pointed out that since they were all living together, they could pool their money to purchase the necessary supplies. Agreeing with her suggestion, Yixian acknowledged its potential effectiveness. He generously offered 20 gold coins, both for himself and Yi Ling, as their contribution. However, their proposal was met with silence from the three individuals. In response, Yixian calmly stated that it didn't matter if they chose not to contribute from that point onwards. He suggested that everyone should take responsibility for their own lives, cooking their own meals as a means to solve the problem. The three remained silent in response to this suggestion as well. At that moment, the dean approached Yixian in an embarrassed manner and expressed his inability to contribute financially, citing his lack of funds. He also questioned how he could be asked to pay for such expenses as a dean. In response, Yixian, with closed eyes, pointed to himself and mentioned that the dean had used a fire spirit in order to save Yi Ling. Therefore, he declared that he would take care of the dean's meals as a way of repaying his kindness. With a happy smile to the dean's face, he expressed his approval of Yixian's words. However, upon opening his eyes, he noticed that Anji was giving him a threatening look. Understanding her message, he nervously exempted her from contributing, recognizing it as a way to make up for his previous mistake. Observing this interaction, Mu Yun deduced that imitating Anji's behavior would also exempt him from contributing. Consequently, he stared at Yi Xian with a threatening gaze. Upon sensing Mu Yun's intense stare, Yi Xian lost his patience and snapped, questioning him aggressively, and demanding that he either pay up or leave. Realizing that his plan hadn't worked, Mu Yun apologetically offered all his money to Yi Xian, explaining that it constituted his entire fortune and that Yi Xian could have it. After the issue was settled, the dean announced that he had one more thing to share. He then turned his attention towards the entrance of the hall and invited someone to enter. Looking at the entrance, a tall and muscular bald man stepped forward, drawing everyone's attention. The dean pats him on the back and introduced him as one of the newest students, Bai Zhe. As everyone approached him, Bai Zhe greeted them in a monk-like manner. He introduced himself as Bai Zhe, hailing from Mount Mang in the north. Mu Yun, whispering to Yi Xian, expressed his eagerness to witness the newcomer's abilities. Sensing something amiss, Yi Ling questioned her brother, inquiring if there would be any trouble. Yi Xian responded, stating that Bai Zhe was not an ordinary person and predicting that Mu Yun would likely be defeated. Mu Yun initiated a conversation with Bai Zhe, presenting a false rule about new students needing to pay a protection fee. Bai Zhe calmly questioned the necessity, mentioning that he didn't require any protection and wondered if he could be exempted from the fee. Mu Yun retorted as he prepares to strike, warning Bai Zhe that refusing to comply would lead to a fight. In a swift motion, Bai Zhe caught Mu Yun's hand and proceeded to twist his arm, causing Mu Yun to grimace in pain. Mu Yun pleaded, requesting Bai Zhe to stop and clarifying that it was merely a misunderstanding. Interrupting the altercation, Yi Xian stepped in, assuring Bai Zhe that Mu Yun was merely testing his skills and meant no harm. Bai Zhe, noticing Yi Xian's grip on his arm, attempted to break free, but to his surprise he found himself unable to do so. As Bai Zhe and Yi Xian exchanged casual glances, Bai Zhe secretly contemplated his inability to break free. After his romantic eye contact with Yi Xian, Bai Zhe finally agreed to release Mu Yun. Bai Zhe praised Yi Xian, expressing his admiration for finding someone stronger than him. In response, Dean Li introduced Yi Xian as a skilled swordsman but with a broken dantian. Reacting to this, Mu Yun questioned whether Yi Xian was the person considered as trash by the Kungmu Academy. Upon hearing Mu Yun's comment, Yi Ling retorted by calling Mu Yun the actual trash and declared that she would no longer be cooking for him. Observing Mu Yun, who was pleading for forgiveness from Yi Ling, Bai Zhe inquired about his identity. The dean responded, stating that Mu Yun possessed impressive physical abilities but seemed to be retarded. Both students became concerned about their future interactions with the fool. The dean then addressed them and suggested that since they were now acquainted, it would be advantageous for them to run errands together and further familiarize themselves with one another. Later on, in the capital's market, the trio found themselves amidst a bustling crowd of people. Mu Yun commented that the market was pretty crowded and expressed his desire for Linger and the others to accompany them. Approaching Yi Xian, Mu Yun mentioned that Linger was cheerful and cute, and he admitted to having an admiration for her. Reacting with anger and a clenched fist, Yi Xian questioned Mu Yun's audacity to show interest in his sister and asked if he had a death wish. Mu Yun quickly clarified, stating that his admiration for Linger was of a friendly nature. Changing his target, Mu Yun turned to Bai Zhe and asked how he had been fooled by old man Ji. Bai Zhe happily replied, explaining that Master Ji had praised him as one of the world's top martial artists and had emphasized the importance of his role in maintaining peace in Jiang. As Yi Xian started to walk away, Mu Yun asked Bai Zhe if he genuinely believed what Dean Ji had told him. Bai Zhe innocently replied that he indeed believed what he was told. Upon hearing Bai Zhe's response, Mu Yun privately thought to himself about how he had never encountered such a naive person before. Bai Zhe innocently questioned Mu Yun, asking if he is not considered a martial arts genius. Mu Yun, wholeheartedly supporting Bai Zhe, responded with a thumbs up, affirming that he was indeed a genius. While the two were engrossed in their conversation, Yi Xian, who had already distanced himself, called out to them, urging them to hurry up and join him. Upon entering the establishment, they were warmly greeted by the manager, who extended a welcome to the drunken immortal and inquired about their needs. Mu Yun questioned Yi Xian, seeking clarification on their purpose at the drunken immortal, wondering if it was an appropriate place to purchase food. Yi Xian dismissed the notion, labeling it as nonsense and explaining that if they didn't come here, Mu Yun would have to carry all the items back later. Yi Xian addressed the manager, requesting 300 pounds of rice, 50 chickens and 50 ducks, 10 pigs, 10 cows, and 5 barrels of oil. Pretending not to know Yi Xian, Mu Yun nervously guided Bai Zai away from them as Yi Xian began listing the items they needed. Upon hearing Yi Xian's inquiry, the manager questions if he has come to start a confrontation. Yi Xian, wearing an air of confidence and presenting his VIP card, asks if he can make a purchase. Seeing this, the manager nervously acknowledges Yi Xian's request while unintentionally revealing his secret mirror as his hat falls off. Yi Xian, handing over the money to the manager, states that the payment should be sufficient and requests that the item be delivered to him at Kanglin Academy. Receiving the money nervously, the manager assures Yi Xian that they will ensure everything is taken care of. While making their way back to the academy, Mu Yun remarks on the swift change in the manager's demeanor, finding it amusing. Teasing Mu Yun, Yi Xian reminded him of how quickly his expression transformed when he pretended not to recognize Yi Xian earlier. While they were engrossed in their conversation, a sudden shout reverberated throughout the streets, announcing the visit of the Tang dynasty and instructing unrelated individuals to maintain distance. In the middle of the road, there was a notably tall carriage being escorted by guards mounted on wolves. These guards wore sadistic smiles as they mercilessly whipped those within their reach. One of the escorts targeted a girl, causing her to stumble and fall. While observing the girl, the guard commanded his wolf to bite off her head, claiming that the bastards of the Jiang country would reward such an act. Upon hearing this, the wolf prepared to pounce on the girl. However, Yi Xian swiftly intervened, delivering a powerful punch that sent the wolf crashing to the ground. As the girl observes her savior, Yi Xian expressed his displeasure by remarking them as a bunch of beasts, calling them out for daring to rampage in the country of Jiang. Witnessing the defeat of his companion, the guard called out to his wolf with concern. Watching this, Mu Yun voiced his concern to Yi Xian, questioning his impulsiveness in confronting a visitor from the Tang dynasty. Hearing this, Bai Zai challenges the consequences of provoking the Tang dynasty, emphasizing the severe repercussions of mistreating the people of Jiang. After tearing a piece of cloth and approaching the girl, Yi Xian offered words of reassurance, advising her not to fear and assuring her that everything would be fine. Grateful for being saved, the girl expressed her thanks to Yi Xian. Holding his wolf by his side, the guard called out to Yi Xian, confronting him for daring to take the life of his wolf. Angered, the guard rallied his companions, urging them to avenge their fallen comrade by attacking Yi Xian. Yi Xian instructed Mu Yun to ensure the child's safety while he dealt with the situation. With a remarkable leap, he delivered a powerful punch to one of the guards. Mu Yun, captivated by Yi Xian's fight, acknowledged the impulsiveness of his actions but admits to feeling a thrill of excitement from it. Shortly after Mu Yun made this remark, Bai Zai swiftly joined the battle, instructing Mu Yun to look after the girl while he provided assistance. Reacting with frustration, Mu Yun calls out Bai Zai for stealing his line. After expressing his thoughts, Mu Yun cleared his throat and kindly offered to accompany the girl on her way home. Returning to the fight, Yi Xian swiftly disabled one of the duos with a skilled kick. Sensing another guard preparing to strike Yi Xian, Bai Zai swiftly intervened, delivering a powerful blow that brought the assailant down. With a sense of pride and camaraderie, Bai Zai expressed the importance of facing battles together. Acknowledging Bai Zai's support, Yi Xian exchanged a fist bump with him and declared their determination to demonstrate to the Tang dynasty that Jiang should never be underestimated. Approaching the scene were Jiang's security forces, who promptly issued orders to halt the disturbance. Amidst the chaos, the last escort guard fled from Yi Xian and Bai Zai, who stood amidst the casualties, ready to face any further challenges. Upon reaching the security forces, the escort guard expressed disappointment, emphasizing their intention to foster friendly relations between the two countries but encountering mistreatment. The leader of the security assured the escort guard that a thorough investigation would be conducted to provide a clear and satisfactory response. One of the security personnel informed their leader that Yi Xian was the individual who was known to be a trash. Hearing this, the leader questioned if Yi Xian was indeed the trash who was rejected by the Kangmu Academy. Following this, he expressed his disappointment in the declining standards of Kanglin Academy for accepting such students. Hearing this remark, Bai Zai challenged the leader, daring him to repeat his words. Yi Xian questioned the leader, asking if the street was governed by Kangmu Academy, and what relevance it had to his actions of dealing with troublesome individuals. Responding to his question, the leader explained that Kangmu Academy had been assigned by the emperor to maintain the security of the capital. Yi Xian pointed out that the troublesome individuals had been harassing innocent people without the security's intervention, but now that they are here, he questioned whether the security's presence meant they were defending the kingdom of Jiang or the kingdom of Tang. Responding with a smug expression, the leader dismissed Yi Xian's words as empty. The leader swung his spear at Yi Xian, stating his intention to teach him a lesson and labeling him as trash. Yi Xian countered with a powerful kick, creating a big impact on the ground. Despite evading the direct attack, the leader failed to escape unharmed. Being outclassed, the leader wondered why the trash described by the vice dean differed from what he had witnessed. As he emerged from the dissipating smoke, Yi Xian prepared to strike with a punch, surprising his opponent. The leader happily received the onslaught of attacks, ultimately ending the fight. Following this, Yi Xian addressed the students from the Kangmu Academy, inquiring if there were any others willing to challenge him. The group responded with silence and fear evident on their faces. As the group of security personnel fled from the scene, they shouted back at Yi Xian, declaring that Kangmu Academy would not let him escape. Seeing this, the escort guard called out to the fleeing group, urging them to stop and not act like cowards. While beckoning for the group to return, the escort guard suddenly noticed a muscular and intimidating figure standing menacingly behind him. Bai Zhe, with bulging veins on his forehead and a sinister smile, warned the guard that he would teach him the true meaning of justice, even if it meant challenging the heavens. Inside the royal palace of Jiang, the king engaged in conversation with someone, asking if they had heard about the recent events in the imperial capital. In response, a girl in a wheelchair queried whether the king was referring to Yi Xian. Amused, the king laughs and confirms that it is indeed Yi Xian. He acknowledges that although Yi Xian may have acted impulsively, he believes that Yi Xian possesses a heart of gold. In response, the girl shares her perspective, suggesting that Yi Xian is fearless, rather than impulsive. Curious, the king inquires about Yi Xian's background, mentioning that the secret guards have investigated him, but haven't found anything particularly noteworthy, aside from his friendship with the national warrior. The girl reminds the king of a recent occurrence where many masters of the drunken immortal group disappeared, hinting at a connection to Yi Xian. Intrigued by this revelation, the king ponders aloud, acknowledging that the national warrior views Yi Xian differently and expressing surprise at the unexpected link between the matter and Yi Xian. Having made up his mind, the king calls for someone and orders that Yi Xian be made a member of the Jiang Scholar. However, the girl interrupts, requesting that the king leave this task to her personally. The king, smiling, appreciates her newfound interest and agrees to let her handle it personally, granting her the responsibility. Meanwhile, reaching the Kangmu Academy, the group of security personnel urgently pleaded for someone to come and save their fellow member. Later on, while watching the checkup, the concerned group anxiously gathered around their member as the doctor examined him. Li Xiu, who was also present and observing the situation, turned to the doctor and inquired about Zhuo Li's condition. The elder responded, stating that Zhuo Li's life had been saved. However, his spirit is no longer alive. Therefore, he would only exist as a lifeless shell from now on. Upon hearing this news, the group sank into sorrow and dropped to their knees. While shedding tears, the group expressed their frustration and anger towards Yi Xian, who dared to show his arrogance despite being rejected by the Kangmu Academy. The group turned their attention to the deputy dean, imploring him to exact revenge on behalf of Zhou Li. Their emotional outburst was abruptly interrupted by Dean Li Xiu, who sternly commanded them to stop. In response to the dean's authoritative voice, the group nervously halted their emotional display. Dean Li Xiu's face contorted with anger as he expressed his determination to address past grievances with Kanglin and Yi Xian. Upon their return to Kanglin Academy, the two students knelt apologetically as the dean scolded them for the trouble they had caused. Frustrated, he hurled his slipper at Yi Xian, questioning whether enduring the label of being a loser would lead to his demise. Yi Xian swiftly caught the slipper, firmly expressing his belief in confronting and overpowering bullies to earn respect. As Yi Xian spoke, Bai Zhe fully supported his viewpoint and agreed with his words. Bai Zhe clenched his fist and passionately described his own encounter with a monster in Mount Mang, conveying his belief that running away or showing weakness will only exacerbate the threat. Instead, he advocates for confronting the challenge head-on and asserting dominance, suggesting that by demonstrating greater cruelty and strength, the opposition will yield and be intimidated. As Bai Zhe delivered his impassioned speech, a powerful weapon suddenly hurtled towards him with lightning speed, striking him directly in the face. The dean dismissed the incident, adamantly rejecting their reasoning and questioning whether he needed to be educated by their group. In the blink of an eye, Yi Xian moved behind the dean and began massaging his shoulders with an awkward smile. He jokingly pondered how they could dare to educate the dean, suggesting that they temporarily withdraw and return when they had grown stronger. The dean stared at Yi Xian, his face contorting into a sarcastic expression as he praised his talent for massaging. Interrupting their conversation, the girl from earlier interjected, expressing her agreement with Yi Xian's sentiments. She questioned the significance of a mere Tang and Kangmu Academy to Elder Ji. Dean Ji fixed a serious gaze on the uninvited girl as she addressed him familiarly, noting his unpretentious nature despite not having seen him in a long time. Intrigued by her intentions, the dean inquired whether the girl, whom he referred to as Master Lu, was affiliated with Kangmu Academy or the Tang dynasty. Master Lu, wearing a gentle smile, clarified that her presence was not for the sake of Kangmu Academy or the Tang dynasty, but rather for Yi Xian, whom she pointed at. One of the maids approaches Yi Xian and presents him with a token on behalf of her lady, mentioning that it was given by the king. Master Lu, with a smile on her face, informs Yi Xian that she has been ordered by the king to make him a scholar of the country. Overhearing this, Yi Ling excitedly exclaims that his brother has become a country scholar. Starting with a smirk, Yi Xian approaches the girl and confronts her, expressing his skepticism. He questions whether the king intends to manipulate the Kanglan Academy by using him as a tool. In response to Yi Xian's unauthorized approach, the maid readies her weapon and points it at Yi Xian's neck, prepared to defend her lady. However, Anji intervenes by pointing her sword at the maid's neck and instructing her to stay away, reminding everyone that fighting is not permitted in the Kanglan Academy. Following this, the girl compliments Yi Xian for being smart, engaging in a conversation with him while their faces are close. Angrily, the dean interrupts them, questioning if they are there to exchange information or engage in a romantic encounter, remarking that they are almost kissing.